from both Obamas on the stage last night to get out to vote, both of them making the admission that this is going to be a very close race. So let's talk about where things stand right now. I have a guest with me, Roshni Nedungadi. She is a partner at HIT Strategies, which is a public opinion poll company. And Roshni, it's very good to have you with us. Where the polls stand right now, at least from what we can see, is that it is a dead heat, especially in those battleground states. Have we seen, often around a convention, you see one candidate get a little bit of a boost in the polls. Are we seeing any of that so far? Is it too soon to tell?
It's a little bit too soon to tell from what we're seeing this week from the convention. But I will say over the last 3 weeks, we've seen a lot of enthusiasm move towards Kamala Harris after President Biden dropped out of the race. And you can see in that consistently over the course of the last year, President Biden and Donald Trump's numbers had remained very consistent with some key groups that Democrats really need to win in order to shore up the election. These key groups, such as black voters, young voters, and women, are moving pretty significantly towards supporting Kamala Harris now that she is the nominee for president. So while the top line numbers aren't moving drastically at this point, and hopefully we will see a bump after the convention, she is shoring up some really key demographics that she'll need to win.
What are the demographics, the groups where Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, this ticket, is not performing particularly well?
Actually, they're performing very well among many groups. We expected to see a drop in support among white seniors after President Biden exited the race because he had famously brought on more white seniors into the Democratic coalition than Obama did, than Hillary Clinton did when she was running. But we, in fact, haven't seen that drop off since he's exited the race. So Vice President Harris and Governor Tim Walz are doing just as well as President Biden among white seniors. And so really they're not losing any ground here. And I think that they have a really good position moving forward.
And yet, as you said, those top line numbers haven't really changed. It is a dead heat between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. If you look at, however, issues, it seems that voters do prefer Donald Trump over Kamala Harris on some of those key election issues, the economy, immigration, right?
Well, I would say it doesn't seem like she is doing worse on the economy or immigration than any Democratic candidate. Okay. This is an area where Democrats typically tend to underperform Republicans consistently election cycle through election cycle. I would actually point to an issue that she's doing really well on, which is abortion access and reproductive justice. We do a lot of polling specifically with young women at HIT. And while abortion access might not be a top 3 issue that people talk about when you ask what's the most important issue to you, when we ask what is the most important issue to you when you're thinking about going to vote, when you're thinking about going to go cast your vote, abortion access is consistently the #1 issue, especially for young women. And I think we can expect to see a surge of young women voting this year and citing her stance on abortion access and reproductive justice as the reason.
And Roshni, just one more question. We know one issue that has divided the Democratic Party is the Israel-Gaza war. How much is that impacting the way young people are likely to vote in this election?
It is an issue that young people bring up pretty consistently in a lot of the qualitative focus group work that we do. I think it's yet to be determined how it will shake out with Vice President Harris in the race. She said that she's going to make a statement on it, and we'll talk more about her positions on it. But I think that there's a very clear contrast still between her position and President Trump's position. So folks can look at those two positions and make a decision.
All right, Roshni, really good to have your insights. Thank you so much for joining us on BBC News. And Steve,